guys, Cody Davis here, 10-0 undefeated professional boxer from Wales. Just finished my podcast with Ace Podcast Nation. Subscribe at youtube.com/Ace Podcast Nation for the best content on all the Welsh boxing shows, all Welsh sport and Welsh boxing and sport in general. All the best.
Defending champion, welcome, Danny Batten!
Hey guys, I'm Sai and welcome to Ace Podcast Nation and welcome to the Danny Batten Fight Show. This is episode number 51. You can get the video versions of this show and all our other shows at youtube.com/Ace Podcast Nation. Hit the subscribe button, click the bell, and you'll be notified every time we go live or upload a show. Ace Podcast Nation, home to many other great shows and series, so check them out. We've got anything on MMA, football, mental health in sport, wrestling, TV, movies, pretty much anything you can think of. Tonight we are talking MMA, although it is the fight show, so we're going to touch on a bit of boxing, a bit of unusual fighting as well. But joining me, as ever, former Cage Warriors champion, UK MMA legend, Mr. Danny Batten. Welcome, mate. How are you?
Yeah, right. So, hello, Josh, and everyone that's listening. Yeah, doing good. Another cracking show. Some good fights happened, yes. Even though some of the fights didn't happen. It was still a good event to watch. It
was, yeah, good crack. And our guest for this evening, making his first appearance on the show, is Cage Warriors bantamweight Josh Crazy Horse Reed. How goes it, my friend?
Yeah, good. Yourselves, you all okay?
Yeah, all good, mate. All good. Ready for a good chat about the fight game, as it were. And it's difficult to know where to start. So I think we'll start with the comedic, and we'll work our way down into the more serious stuff. So when I was flicking through the papers this morning and just having a look at the latest news, I came across this thing from Russia last night. There was they labelled it the Freak Show. And it was, where's he gone? He's a 529-pound man versus a professional bantamweight female fighter. He was in Russia. I saw a little clip of it. It was staged by a company called Our Business. By all accounts, they seem to be a legit company. But and the female, she's a 4-1 professional, and she was matched against blogger Grigory Kreshitov, probably haven't pronounced that right. It was definitely a freak show. I'm not sure what it does for MMA as a sport, because I think that's the sort of thing which, Dan, we've talked about a lot over the last 50 shows at various points about how difficult it was for MMA to be taken seriously, and the UFC to be taken seriously around the world, and people not just treat it as like a cage fighting, where it's just this brutal thing. And obviously in the early UFC you had there was no weight divisions and stuff like this. Not sure this helps, but I guess it is what it is. Have you seen any of the clips of it?
Yeah, I did. I watched it. Yeah,
it wasn't a long one, was it? What do you think of that, mate? As a legend of the game, what do you think when you see that?
I think we're always going to get the odd little spectacle like that, and I think as long as no one's getting seriously hurt, why not? Although someone could have done, with such big discrepancy in weight and the fact that it's a female against a male. Females generally just not going to compete against men in any meaningful way. But obviously this guy is completely non-athletic, probably doesn't know how to do anything in the martial arts sense, but nevertheless a big dude. So out of the pure conundrum of the situation, I kind of watched it, kind of interested actually. But yeah, normally I'm not too entertaining of these sort of things, but I don't know, maybe it's something, I don't know.
It's just a weird one, isn't it?
There was something nice about seeing a pretty woman beat the shit out of a big fat ugly man.
yeah, that's it, isn't it? Like, she's 139 pounds and he was 529 pounds, and like whilst whilst afterwards we can kind of laugh about it and see it for what it is, like it could have gone terribly wrong. Do you know what I mean? Like if he had been just capable of throwing like decent strikes, like if he'd caught her, she could have been seriously hurt. Like, so it's a bit of a weird one, isn't it?
I actually didn't think it was going to go to the original plan. When he got hold of her, I was thinking, wow, this is going to be problematic. But he didn't know how to put his weight properly and stuff. But
no.
He did all right with his punches. He sort of like pushed forward with short little choppy punches. He did okay. But it could have gone wrong so easily.
What did you make of it, Josh? As a current fighter.
I only clicked on it, to be honest. I didn't really watch the whole fight, but obviously because of what I read there. I was like, that's just wrong. If it was against the float, like I would have been interested in him, but obviously the weight difference and whatever. I just like, I'm not clicking on that.
No, it's not for me. I gotta be honest. Like, it's just, and like I just look at it and like, if something had gone wrong, like if he had caught her and broke her jaw or something, that's gonna cause problems for MMA as a sport overall. Even though it's got nothing to do with MMA, is it really? But like, it just doesn't look good, does it? But I guess it is what it is. We're seeing more and more of these non-professionals being sanctioned as professionals to fight. Even last night we had an exhibition fight between two ex-professionals, which I didn't have a problem with that. It wasn't it wasn't a proper fight. There was no knockouts, no cuts or anything like that, and it was two 54-year-old guys, both who at one point legends of the game, still legends of the game, but they were professional fighters. But then on the same card you've got a former baseball player versus a YouTube star. The YouTube stars battered him, and it's just it makes you wonder, like, where's it stop? Like with boxing, like they just seem to be like, it's one thing putting Conor McGregor in there against Floyd Mayweather. At least Conor McGregor's he was in his prime. He's a proper fighter. Like that. Nate Robinson, his name was. So he fought this Jake Paul, who's a YouTuber. He's had a couple of fights now against other YouTubers. But whilst Nate Robinson is he was a professional athlete, he's not a fighter, and that was clear. And he got knocked down 3 times, I think it was, and each time was quite heavy shots to the head. And the final one, which finished the fight, he laid there face down for a good couple of minutes afterwards, like, and I was just like, this is going to be the one which ends all these celebrity fights. But from what I can gather, he was all right afterwards. But just risking it. What do you think of it, Josh? Obviously, you're a bit younger than me and Danny.
As long as they're having the correct training and all like that, and they're able to fight and put it all on the line, and I'm all for it. But these YouTubers, they're coming in and they're making some serious money. But
they're bringing in numbers as well now.
Yeah, exactly. They get paid so much. When you get half of what they get, like, they basically nobody's in the fight, but people are tuning in, they're getting paid. It's going to keep happening.
Well, yeah, when you had when Logan Paul, who is Jake Paul's brother, fought KSI, you had Billy Joe Saunders, who's one of the, at that point, one of the best British boxers around. He was on the undercard of that fight. Like, so you had the YouTubers were in the main event because they're the ones who were selling all the all the pay-per-views and the tickets. It's incredible. Like, but I guess I don't have a problem with them. They're bringing in numbers like Jake Paul, Logan Paul, KSI. They can all fight. Like, they've had proper training. They're decent. Like, they put on a couple of alright fights. I haven't got a problem with it if you're putting them up against similar people. But, like, for instance, Jake Paul called out Conor McGregor after his fight, and I was just like, no, you can't be doing that. Yeah, of course, everyone wants Conor McGregor fight, don't they? But like, yeah, I think, Dan, as long as they put these people against the appropriate opponents, I suppose, is what I'm saying. Like, I don't want to be seeing any of these guys fight like a 40-something-year-old Manny Pacquiao or something like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It has to be just kept halfway sensible.
Someone could get it, couldn't they? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I just think as long as there's a clear divide on what's going on, and it gets categorized, for what it is, which is
Celebrity boxing, no?
Yeah, and I think it's okay, but I don't give it too much attention, to be honest. So as long as it doesn't affect the mainstream of the sports for what they should be, and then okay, it's going to happen.
Well, here's the question for you both then. Does it do boxing as a sport more harm than good? Or does the fact that they bring in, these YouTubers bring in so many eyes, people who wouldn't watch boxing normally and buy the pay-per-views, does that kind of outweigh the negatives of taking away from, the legitimate fighters? Josh, we'll go to you first for that, mate.
Yeah, I think if you talk to like a boxer who's actually in their prime now in boxing, they don't agree with it, because obviously they're about to get paid. They just don't agree with it. You can ask any boxer that, but for the general public, they're loving it, don't they?
Yeah.
So as a fighter, I'm the same really. They just jump in, they just get tax loads of money, and so myself, I don't agree with it really. They should stay in there. If the YouTubers, they do it. Obviously, that's what you're good at. That's what you do, and leave the boxing to the boxers.
Yeah. What about you?
Well, I've got to try and think about it this way. What would I do if a YouTuber called me out to beat him up for a few rounds?
Well, you and Andy Campbell, wouldn't it?
Yeah. You know what? I'd probably do it. And so I just think it's always going to be there. I think as long as there's a market for it, and it's going to bring money and it's going to bring attention, it's going to just always be there. So I just accept that, and to me, I'll categorise it as one thing, and I carry on concentrating on the serious side of those combat sports. And it is what it is. It's all down to safety, really. I think as soon as someone gets hurt, I think that's when you might see it end.
Yeah. Well, here's another way to look at it. Is say like KSI and Jake Paul are going to have this fight or whatever next year. They're going to do it anyway. So is it better that it's monitored by the top boxing promotions and promoters and have top level referees and companies involved, so that it is as safe as it's going to be, rather than if the top level says no, we're not doing it, they'll go somewhere and they'll get half-assed. You might not have the appropriate medical facilities at the event, or they won't get tested properly, or whatever it may be. Like the referee might not be a proper referee, or do you know what I mean? So like from that aspect of it, by it being run by the top, by Eddie Hearn and by these people, it at least makes it as safe as it's going to be.
Yeah. Basically.
But anyway, enough of that. Enough of the. That's what I was going to ask you. Lastly, Mike Tyson. What did we make of his performance? Dan, you go first, mate.
I actually thought he looked better than Jones did. Jones looked like it almost looked like he couldn't be bothered in there. Although I don't think
I think he was really just tired, wasn't he?
Yeah, he looked really, really gassed. It actually looked like that he's not been so kind to his body in those 2 years that he's been away from it, compared to Tyson's 15+ years. Tyson looked in good shape, and they both didn't look like their former selves, and you're not going to expect them to. But I don't mind perhaps seeing this, at least that they're fighting someone of relative same age, and I don't think it's a bad thing. And Tyson wasn't pushing to try and make an actual comeback in his career. He wants to keep it as this one was, and I think that's a good thing. No one's going to get hurt, it seems, with the way those doing it. It was all done in good jest, and it obviously created a lot of attention. And I wouldn't be, I wouldn't mind seeing it again, that sort of thing, to be honest. I thought it was kind of good. It was nice. It was tasteful.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I wouldn't have paid for the event. I've seen some clips of it. I don't think I'd pay for it. Just it doesn't. I don't think it interests me enough for me to part with like 50 odd quid or whatever it is. But yeah, I don't think it does any harm ultimately. And if at the end of the day, if it gives these guys like, especially like Tyson, has been inclined to get into a bit of trouble, and especially if he's out having a drink and doing other stuff, if he's got something to focus on and train and keep him healthy and stuff like that, that's a good thing, isn't it?
Absolutely. Didn't you get a sense, how different he was from the old Tyson?
Yeah.
He was really happy.
Less angry, isn't he?
Yeah, no anger at all, no malice about it. He wanted to get in there. He wanted to have a shuffle about. And, I think it was great for him. I think Jones enjoyed it. I think there's a lot of people that enjoyed it. And, me too, I enjoy it. Like I said, I'd watch something like that again. But I wouldn't want to see Tyson fight a 30-year-old top heavyweight. That would not interest me. And clearly, he wouldn't be up there with that, yeah. But,
it was pretty good. Josh, what did you make of it? And I know, obviously, me and you watched Joyce and Dubois in the heavyweight bout of the evening. So tell me a bit about your thoughts on Tyson, and then we'll have a quick chat about Joyce and Dubois.
Yeah, I wasn't buying it when it got announced and all that. I was like, I'm not paying for that. But I watched all the clips on Facebook and whatever, and yeah, it was a good fight. You've got to take it. They're in their 50s now, and they done well, especially because being a fighter myself. I'd be happy if I could go out in my 50s.
Definitely.
So you want to take that off of the way. So I enjoyed it. I definitely do it again, right?
100%. So we had basically what was a heavyweight title and eliminator in the boxing last night with Daniel Dubois fighting Joe Joyce, with the winner's going to get a world heavyweight title shot versus I forgot his name, the Eastern European guy. I'll find it now. It was a really good fight. It was basically the battle of the jabs, but it was quite an exciting fight. Dubois took a really nasty eye. He got caught in his left eye socket by a big shot, and it just, as the fight progressed, it just got worse and worse. They think that he's either got a broken orbital bone or some sort of damaged nerve or severed nerve behind his eye. Yeah. It looked real nasty by the end of it. But it was a really enjoyable fight. I thought Joe Joyce looked really good. I wondered before the fight if he would be able to put up with Dubois' power, and he did. Early on, I think Dubois looked real dangerous, but as the fight progressed, I thought Joe Joyce came into his own, really. I've never seen as well. So the fight finished when basically Dubois was struggling to see. You could see that he was struggling. He was trying to kind of hide his eye. And he took a big shot, and he kind of took a knee from the shot, and he just didn't get up, did he? It was weird.
Yeah.
You don't see many heavyweight boxers finish fights like that, I gotta be honest. So that, to me, that as someone who doesn't fight and just talks about it, like, I just think that says how bad that eye injury probably is, or certainly felt in the moment. But what do you make of the fight, mate?
Yeah, it was very good. I thought Dubois was going to have him out there early, to be honest, with too much power. But Joyce stuck with his jab. He jabbed his head off, if you ask me. He didn't even have to throw the right. He was just doing it with his jab. It showed his amateur background. Obviously, he'd been in the GB squad for years and years and years, and I think his amateur pedigree definitely shown last night. It was a boxer against, on times looked like boxer against a brawler, really. But not taking nothing from Dubois. Obviously, he's quality, but Joyce was too good for him last night, I thought.
Yeah, he was. So yeah, by the end, his eye was just literally shut. You couldn't, no way he was able to see out of that, regardless of what the injury is. His eye was completely shut. He was done. So the winner is going to face Ulusk, who is the current one of the current world. Just trying to find it now. Because obviously you've got Tyson Fury holds. There's so many different titles in there in boxing.
Yeah, boxing. Yeah.
So yeah, Alexander Usyk, and he is the. Let's have a look. What is he? I'm trying to find out. There's so many titles. I can't find which world title he's got. But he's got one of them. I can tell you that much. I will find. I think it's the WBO, but I'm not 100% sure because there's just like a long list and it's not very clear which one it is. No, I can't find it. Right. So moving on to the UFC.
Yeah.
One story which I did want to touch on is Khabib in the last couple of days, or yesterday, in fact, said that he has got something very, very interesting planned, and is looking forward to speaking to Dana White, which was nice and cryptic to get the people to talking. He said we will have a big discussion. Obviously, everyone thought he was done. He said he was done. He said his mum had asked him to stop. He said he was going to do it. And now he's kind of hinting at something. However, there is reports in Russia saying that he's purchased Guerrilla Fighting Championship in Russia. It's a Dagestani MMA promotion for about $1 million.
I was just to say that with your promotion.
Yeah, so I think UFC Fight Pass, they love stuff like that, and they'll add that to the growing list of, because they're always going to need content for that service, and they need fresh content. You can't just sell it on the old shows and the previous shows. They always need like more contender series. Cage Warriors, they obviously on there now as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's that, but obviously because of who he is now, recently retired, people jump to that conclusion straight away. I don't think he'll fight again. Do you think he'll fight again, Dan?
I think he will.
Yeah.
I just think he's gonna.
I do wonder if Conor McGregor smokes Dustin Poirier quite quickly and then beats someone else like mid 2021 quite comfortably, whether we might see the rematch at the end of next year, because he'll, as soon as Conor if he was to beat two people fairly handily, he's going to be calling Khabib, he'll call him a coward for running away and, all the usual stuff. So I wonder whether that fight would interest Khabib to put it to bed once and for all. To me, I don't think he needs to, because I think he beat Conor so handedly. He beat him so handily that there's not like any doubt about it, really. Like, only doubt for me was that Conor didn't really fight as well as he can fight, I'd say, which I've said a few times before. Okay, so we did have a UFC card last night. It was an interesting one. We lost a couple of guys, or he lost the main event, which was Derek Lewis versus Curtis Blades, because Curtis Blades tested positive for COVID. Unfortunately, he's not the only UFC fighter to test positive for COVID this week. Kevin Holland apparently has also tested positive, which, unfortunately, it's the world we live in at the moment, where you are going to get fighters testing positive here and there, and coaches and stuff. It's just a shame that we lost that, because I was really looking forward to Derek Lewis and Curtis Blades. Love a good heavyweight bout, but yeah, it is what it is, I guess. Did either of you watch any of the prelims at all?
I am watching the prelims, just the main
No.
card.
So I watched the Luke Sanders fight, and I gotta be honest, I thought Luke Sanders was going to win, because I didn't know a lot about Nate. Nate Maynez, his name was. I think it's his debut, or no, his second fight. So in his first fight, he was the one a couple of months back where he took about 6 low blows in the same fight, if you remember. Like, he just kept getting hit low. So he's come in and fought Luke Sanders, who hasn't fought for, I think, 18 months or something ridiculous like that, quite a long time. And he choked out Luke Sanders in the about 2.5 minutes of the second round. But I thought he was really, really impressive. And I'm really looking forward to seeing him fight next, because I thought he showed enough to be much better than kind of the opening fight on the prelims, for sure. So that'll be interesting. And also the other fight which I watched, which was Gina Mazzani versus Rachel Ostovich, which Gina Mazzani won via TKO. Massive body kick in the third round, about 4 minutes in, right at the end of the fight. That was quite a good fight, though. As usual, as 2020 Dan has been, the women have torn it up in the UFC all year. And it was another good fight. Went pretty much 3 rounds, but big body kick. And we've talked about the damage that those body kicks do. And it was that again. She took a big body kick, finished her. But other than that, nothing too exciting. Sure, not exciting, that's the wrong term. But nothing too newsworthy on the prelims. So the first fight on the main card was Jonathan Pierce defeated Kai Kamaka the third by TKO strikes 4.5 minutes into round 2. Danny, what did you make of this fight, my friend?
Yeah, both of them had their moments. Kamaka looked particularly good at the beginning of that first round. Looked like he was really sharp and powerful, and had brief encounters on the ground. But then towards the latter part, we saw Pierce have a little bit of his moment in that first round. But it's more the second round took more of my interest. Kamaka got Pierce down, but just didn't make anything of it. He just didn't get any proactivity off. Numerous times lost, what could have been really advantageous positions. And then Pierce reversed it and got Kamaka down on more than one occasion. And each time it was going to the ground, Kamaka started looking more and more fatigued. Now, the mistake that Kamaka was making, he kept on trying to stand up with both his palms flat on the ground as he stood up. That can leave your arms to be tied up by the legs. It can leave your neck open to being attacked. And also, it's going to get you taken down again, even when you stand up, because you're not holding onto wrists. You're not attacking the leverage points that are going to get you transitioned on or taken back down again. So he tried to get up physically all the time. And I think that's why his gas tank started to wane, because he was always trying these physical type things. And then really the last part that sort of like was adding nails to his coffin was that he had a bit of an attempt at a guillotine, but was really not correct with his leg positioning. He got stepped over, got mounted, and then again, his attempts at trying to get up were just so poor. He turned with his arms face down. He didn't try and push half guard to try and loosen the tighten of the legs. So when he was mounted and he turned his back, the guy had a tight hold, and he was sprawled out with someone on your back, which is a TKO situation right there. He should have been pushing half guard, trying to loosen that leg grab off before he turned. And maybe go the half guard route to try and stand up. But both of them made mistakes. Both of them done some good things. Not overly impressive in any particular way, but Pierce got the job done, and I think he got the job done partly because it was given to him on a plate by Kamaka's sloppiness on the ground.
Yeah. So Kamaka was a heavy favourite as well, which I was. Like, if you just watched the fight without knowing anything beforehand, you'd be surprised to hear that, because I thought he made a lot of errors, Kamaka, and like you say, ultimately it cost him any chance of a victory. I thought Jonathan Pierce did all right. I didn't, like you said, I wasn't massively impressed with either guy, but out of the two, I thought Jonathan Pierce was the more impressive. Josh, what did you make of him, mate?
Yeah, well, just tied it up there, really. But he had a good start. I thought was on a back foot early, and then coming to the end of the first, the second round he's on fire. But like Danny said, then he just took advantage of Kamaka's laziness wrestling, really, more than anything.
I was gonna ask you that. Was it like I thought it looked like he was being a bit lazy with his wrestling and some of his grappling. Was it that, or was it? Is he just not that adept at it? Josh, do you reckon?
Could be. It could. Well, it depends. Laziness as well. If he's tired, you know what I mean. He's got a bit tired, but obviously it's still early in the fight to make. You should have better gas than that, you know. But so it could be gas or it could be laziness. But he did look tired.
Yeah, like even the sort of finishing sequence, he got turned around really easy, Dan, didn't he? To lead to the ground and pound, like as they sort of went to the floor and Kamaka's going for that guillotine. Like, he's, even though Pierce is on top of him, as Kamaka's going for the guillotine, like, Kamaka's instigated that. So, like, for him to then get turned around and sprawled out face down so easily does feel a bit like, look, should you be that tired, like in the second round of a fight, that you've got no energy to fight back against that? Or is it just a bit of, you know, laziness, for lack of a better term, or is it just that he doesn't have the ground skills to combat it?
To me, it just looked like he didn't have the intricacies in his technicality to be efficient. He was doing the kind of escapes that are just going to put you into another dog shit position, and you're going to get. You're just going to keep transitioning from one hard aspect to another, and you're going to start fatiguing, and that's what you began to saw. He began to look really, really helpless in there, and he's got things to address, definitely so.
Yeah, and I mean, look, as I said before, I'm asking the question. I don't fight. I've never fought, so I just watch it, and I watch a lot of it, and I asking the question to you two professionals, but it just, I was surprised how easy he got turned around, I've got to be honest. Okay, so next up we had Ashley Evans-Smith versus Norma Dumont, and Norma Dumont picked up the victory via unanimous decision, 30-26 times 3. Went the full whack, 3 rounds. Josh, what do you make of this one, mate?
I flicked through that one, I'll be honest. I flicked through that one. Yeah. I flicked through that.
It wasn't the greatest one, I gotta be honest. It was all right. What about you, Dan? What do you make of it, mate?
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed this one.
You, Dan, I knew you would.
I really enjoyed it. Dumont actually looked really, really good. She's quite a bit shorter. Don't have as much range, so she was playing pure counter. And boy, did she show how to play counter really, really well. And Smith just looked like when she was throwing her shots, she weren't throwing it with full vigor, and so allowed those counters a little bit too often. Now, some of the commentary was complaining that Dumont perhaps wasn't doing as big a flurries as they was wanting to see, but I think that she actually played a perfect game plan. I think she was just teeing off, scoring enough, always winning the exchanges because of her counter striking in a way where she always had some energy, and that energy allowed us to see some of her ground skills as well. It did go to the ground a few times, and Dumont looked really, really good there. She looked consistently energetic because she'd done those flurries in the right way, and then come towards the finishing line, so to speak, she started really opening up with those combinations like the commentators were kind of wanting in rounds 1 and 2. But to me, she just was winning the rounds, and then in that third round was like, okay, I'm winning this enough. I've taken enough energy out of my opponent to open up with my striking and counter and stay in there and try and put this to bed. And so, to me, she looked really, really impressive, and I can't wait to see this girl fight again.
Yeah, she looked real good, particularly on the ground. I thought she looked very, very comfortable. She had some nasty elbows. I think it was the second round, about 2.5, 3 minutes in. Like she had like a good position on top, and she had some really nasty slicing elbows across the kind of like the bridge of her nose. But like, I gotta say, we talked about the commentary last week. I didn't enjoy the commentary this week. I don't know who was on it, but like I've been really impressed. What's that?
Was Felder on it? Felder?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah,
and
I normally good.
Yeah, I normally enjoy Felder. I enjoy like DC and Bisping, Dan Hardy. They got some really good guys. I didn't enjoy parts of Joe Rogan last week, and for something wasn't clicking today, like or in this last night for me. I don't know. But like this fight was where I noticed it the most. But because they were quite critical of Ashley Evans Smith in the first round, saying she almost looked like she was carrying an injury and she was struggling a bit. But
yeah, there was complaining that she wasn't using her wrestling, and complaining perhaps there was an injury there. I think they picked up on something she said in interviews, saying there was something bothering her. Now we don't know whether that's something physical, something mental, but what you got to understand, Dumont was really short and stocky, and she was playing counter all the time. Now they're difficult people to try to enter in on, regards trying to get them up against the fence and trying to get a wrestling situation where you can access the legs. Smith was, a fair bit taller and longer, so it's not easy trying to lower your level to shoot into those legs. And she's really heavy in the hip and leg as well. So then you're forced to try and upper body wrestle. Now, the difficulty trying to upper body wrestle shooting on someone like Dumont who's playing counter with the hands is that she's throwing those hands. And
she got a bit of power, haven't she?
Yeah, she was having power in it. So I'm not surprised that Smith was second guessing on trying to enter in for a takedown attempt.
100%, mate. One thing I noticed about Dumont's like a punching and kicking was there was a lot of power behind them, and every time she did catch Evan Smith clean, you could see she felt it. And there was a couple of times where she looked, you could almost see her think, "Ooh, hang on a minute." But yeah, it was all right. I don't know. Maybe I was a bit frustrated by that one. I was hoping for a bit more from Ashley Evans Smith, and it never quite came.
I put it down to Dumont. I think Dumont just didn't allow Smith to be able to express any of her game. I just think the counter capabilities of Dumont was of such that it made her shy to come forward with. She was always out of range, Smith. She was throwing. It looked like she was shadow boxing at times. And I think that was because of the fear of those counters. Obviously, she was clearly hitting hard in there and she was feeling it. And it was making her stay out of range, which is why you never saw the entries for any takedowns.
Fair enough. Next up was Bill Algeo versus Spike Carlisle, with Algeo picking up the victory via unanimous decision, 30-27 times 3. Danny, what did you make of this one, mate?
Yeah, I mean, I like Spike. I got to say, he's quite a character, isn't he? I don't know whether you picked up on him shouting in the first round. I don't know whether that's through frustration or he's just got so much energy about him. But I did notice he competed a little differently than what we've seen him in his last few performances, in that he did reserve his energy levels a little bit more. But he's totally unpredictable, really, really difficult to sort of like plan for. He'll come out with spinning techniques. He'll do unusual takedown combinations. And we did see a little bit of that. But Algerio did really, really good at weathering any storms that Spike was putting upon him, and started to exchange him in both the wrestling, grappling, and I think on the feet somewhat as well from round 2 onwards. In my heart, I was kind of rooting for Carlisle to pull through, because I don't know, I've just got a soft spot for his balls out style, and
he's entertaining.
Yeah, he's entertaining, but he's also legit. He'll submit you if he gets a chance, and also he could knock you out on the feet with those flamboyant shots, because it's the ones you don't see that will knock you out, and he's definitely got those weird angles and weird striking tools.
A couple of times.
Yeah, and he went for a bulldog choke as well that I think got quite close. Now, what's quite interesting, you beat Zidane, I think, with a bulldog choke, didn't you? It's not something I've ever submitted one with, so it's actually quite an unusual submission. And I know Ben Askren, he caught Robbie Lawler with it. Is this something that you do in training, the bulldog choke? Because it is a little, because it doesn't give you control any. There's no setup of the legs or the arms. The arms around the head and neck, isn't it? And
you lose position very easily if it doesn't come off.
Right.
And it takes a lot of, obviously a squeeze into his taking gas. And when he was up, when he was last time, I was thinking, that's not on, let it go.
Right, yeah. I haven't seen the footage of where you finished with it, but did you finish your guy flat down, or how was the situation with the bulldog?
To the side really, and then it was flat down, so it was a bit of both really. But that was literally, I didn't go for that. I changed my grips to make it the bulldog choke, but I couldn't. You wouldn't let me get my hooks in basically, so I slid off. So I just picked my grips. like the palm just went.
Right, yeah. I mean, if you're going to have a submission...
He was arguing, so I knew it was very tight.
So it wasn't done from the feet, because I would imagine a lot of the time you'd see a bulldog choke set up from an arm and shoulder, head and shoulder throw, and then it slips out. Yeah. Right, yeah. I mean, if you're going to have a submission on your resume, that's a nice one. Other than a twister, a good old bulldog choke, it just looks great up on your. It looks great.
But one thing I noticed about Spike Carlisle as well is a couple of times he really loaded up on like these big, massive elbows in the stand-up, and they were like millimeters from landing. And you just think if he had nailed one of them, I think knock most people out. But he just couldn't quite, those flamboyant strikes you were mentioning, he couldn't quite seem to nail them, could he?
Yeah. And he gets out of situations as well that, most people just don't get out of. He's like Houdini. He'll have his back taken with hooks in, and he'll find a way to make him slip off. And lo and behold, he'll end up on top at the end of a round where,
He's for the weight too, isn't he?
He's what?
He's big. He's big for the weight as well.
Yeah. He's definitely muscled, and I think that was a little bit on perhaps what went against him a little bit here. I think the muscular movements that he was putting in, and Ilduro's really quite slim and lean, and he could just keep going, and it made Spike Carlisle look a beat behind from round 2 onwards.
Yeah, that's right.
Good fight to watch. Spike's always he always brings it, and I always smile the whole way through.
Yeah, 100%. What did you make of Algio's performance, Josh?
Yeah, he done enough, didn't he? Everywhere he went, it's like it was just a good fun fight, and obviously he was better, he was sharper. But I think that's the way that Spike fights, he comes hard and everything, and obviously very muscle bound. So I think.
There's a big height difference. He's like 5'8", and the other guy was he 6 foot? Yeah,
I think so.
I think the stats so
for the weight as well.
Yeah.
But it was an enjoyable fight, I've got to say. Spike Carlisle's just one of those guys, isn't he, you just enjoy watching fight. And you want to see him again next week, but there we go. Next up was
2.
That's it, and that's the only problem is if you keep racking up those losses, no matter how entertaining you are, especially the world we're in now with COVID and everything, and also with so many young and upcoming fighters in the UFC, and then you've got all the guys just underneath in like the likes of Cage Warriors. You can't afford to have too many losses because they'll cut their money and bring in someone else. Yeah. So hopefully you can get some wins going. Next up was Josh Parzian versus Parker Porter with
the heavyweight.
I think this was one.
That was a good fight. That was a mad fight. That was.
Yeah, it was a good fight.
So Parker Porter picked up the win by a unanimous decision, 30-26, 30-27, 29-28. So very, very close. Very, very enjoyable to watch. Josh, you go first on this one, mate. What did you make of this?
Yeah, it was very, very fun to watch. I was on the edge of my seat, but I love watching fights like that, really. But I thought I can't remember his name, but he gassed hard in the second. I thought Porter was going to get him out of there in the second, to be honest. But I think he was keeping a bit back as well, because I think you gas yourself out, can't you, by working towards that finish too much. But it was very fun to watch.
Yeah, especially when you're carrying that much timber. When you go hard, you gas out quicker. But this is when you see like heavyweights, whether it's boxing or MMA, this is the kind of fight you want to see. This is the kind of fight which people enjoy about heavyweight fighting, isn't it? Where it's just balls to the wall. Let's go for it and just let's have it, basically. But there was some good technical striking in there, Dan, as well.
Yeah, I thought that both of them were striking really, really well. Again, the obvious discrepancy is with the height, basically. And Porter did the right thing. He was pushing in close with flurries. Now, to do that, you've got to be fit. Now, although he didn't look fit, he was throwing some serious amount of shots. You know, so much so it put some welterweights and middleweights to shame with work rate. Now, always the fear with heavyweights is that they're going to plod in front of each other and respect each other's power. Now, all heavyweights have got power, even if you just throw a windmill punch. But these guys were not worrying about that in any way. And I think because they were just intent on winning, they wanted to beat each other. But Porter absolutely impressed me with not only his choice of combinations, his fitness, but the fact that as well, boxing. It's great. But he also was working on the leg steadily throughout the first, second, and third round as a little backup. And I thought that was really, really good. And that goes to show you he's got some kind of strategical mind. I don't think he was doing it out of, that's just part of his combinations. I think
with those knees, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's working some great knees, but those leg kicks that he was throwing, they were well placed. Although it never ended up looking like it was bothering Priestland too much. They've got to have been having some kind of effect, and I think that helped the slowing up process.
In one of the rounds, didn't it?
Yeah, in one of the rounds. So you got to wonder whether it was the accumulation of those. But I just thought that was good game plan. He was hungry to win, and I was really, really impressed with him. I've got to say, really, really impressed.
Even Parzian though, he wasn't just a one-way traffic for Porter. Whilst I think Porter had the more significant strikes and a bit more of a game plan, like you mentioned with the leg kicks as well. Like Parzian was still game. He was still banging in those shots. And as soon as he was in range, he had a goal.
Yeah. I mean, there was just one point, I think it was in the end of the first round, where Porter began to, not even gas, I wouldn't say that, but he was trying to take a deep breath to recover from that fast start that he did. And Friesen was really coming on strong. And I thought, here we go, he's gonna take over now. But Porter was straight back in there and out trading him. But I think possibly Friesen may have won that first round. I think he was landing the more accumulative shots. But certainly second round and third round was clearly going to Porter.
Would you have given this one fight of the night, Josh?
Yeah, definitely. 100%. Very entertaining, wasn't it?
This is what I want to see from heavyweights. And we've seen some duds in the heavyweight division over the last couple of years. Sometimes they've been, what was it, the Ngannou fight, where I was so hyped for it, thought it was going to be like fight of the year, just banging, and they just hugged each other for like 3-5 rounds. Which one was that?
Yeah.
Was it Derek Lewis? It might be Derek Lewis.
I think it was,
yeah. It might have been, yeah. It was a big fight, wasn't it?
Yeah, everyone was really gassed for it, and then it was they just hugged each other, and it was come on. But yeah, I thought this was really, really, really entertaining, really enjoyable to watch, and I thought it was a big win as well for Porter. I thought he did enough that maybe he could get maybe someone in that top 15.
Yeah,
towards, just around the.
Was he far out of the top 15 anyway? He was in top 20 now.
Let's have a look. See if I can find it.
It'd be interesting to see who they'll match him up to.
I think he's just outside the top 15.
Right.
So it'd be nice to see him maybe get like a Andrei Arlovski or a. You got
because Arlovski, he's still doing well, isn't he?
Arlovski's ranked 15th, and then you've got in 14th you've got Surly Gain, who's coming off the back of the loss, so he's recently gone down a ranking, so he's 14th. That would be a good fight for him to get. And then above there you've got like Ivanov, Walt Harris, some people like that. But I think either Gain or Arlovski would be the two which I'd be looking at if I was making it. For his next fight, because I think he did enough in that to say, right, he's game. He's gonna, whoever he fights, he's gonna have a plan, and he's gonna fight. It's not gonna just be a bore fest. Another good fight though was Miguel Beza versus Takashi Sato, with Beza defeating Sato via a triangle choke about 4 minutes 28 into the second round. I've forgotten who I went to first last time. Daddy, what did you make of this one, mate?
Yeah, Beza, he just looked really, really good, really, really sharp. Sato just looked like it was. Sato just looked a tempo behind the whole time. and just didn't look like he had as much pep on the shots. It really impressive. I didn't really know much about Baszler, to be honest. So
I don't know him.
once I started watching him, I was like, yeah, he looks like he's got some skill and some energy about him. It just looked really impressive. Sato just looked a little bit like a rabbit in the headlights, and so I think he started to doubt himself. What can I say? I mean, just sums it up really. It looked like someone that is in sort of like the top ranks, and someone was clearly outside the top ranks. That's how it made it look. But yeah, I would have expected more from Sato. I mean, on paper, when you look at him, you would think Sato would have put up a good performance in return, but it wasn't the case. He looked like outmatched in there, no matter where it went.
Yeah, Sato never looked comfortable, did he? From the first bell. But he looked like someone who was nervous, someone who... I'm not sure how many fights he's had in the UFC. He's had a couple, I think. But he just never looked comfortable. And Bezo just looked completely relaxed and just went to work.
Yeah, Bezo.
Bezo, I think both of them are fairly inexperienced in terms of the UFC. But I think... because I've definitely... Sato, I definitely remember seeing... Sometimes we just have a look. What did you think of his performance? Because
very good.
Dana White said he's really got high hopes for him afterwards. He said he wants to be there. He wants him to be his Puerto Rican star. So they've obviously got big plans. Yeah. So let's have a look at his page. So he's 10-0 professionally. But I think. So he was on the Contenders season 3,
right.
and then he's fought 3 times in the UFC since. So he beat Hector Aldano via TKO. Then he beat Matt Brown via TKO in May. So that was in May. That was this year.
I remember now.
Yeah, he beat Matt Brown. Yeah, 100%.
All
his victories in the second round as well.
His kicks look brutal. They look really horrible.
Sharp, mate. Sharp.
Sato was catching him on the forearm, but couldn't have felt good.
Yeah, I was a little bit disappointed with Sato. I got to be honest. I was expecting a bit more. Maybe he was just outclassed, and sometimes that's going to happen.
Really.
Yeah, I think when people in opposite stance and you get someone that's got the more power and uses it right, like. Basically was kicking to the open side of the body, which happens initially when you're opposite stance like that. And I just think that just stopped Sato being able to come forward with his rear side. So he's throwing the jab and getting countered. It kept his rear side really quiet. I mean, we've got to see a lot more of this kid, I'm sure, without a doubt. But I don't think Sato's done. He's quite an actually well-rounded fighter, but yeah, he's got to go back and question how you deal with someone like this.
Yeah, so I was right. That was Sato's 4th fight in the UFC. He's now 2-2. Because I wondered, I just had it on then when we were talking, and he just looked so nervous. And I was thinking, maybe I've got it wrong, and that was his debut or something, and he was a bit, he's a bit nervous, and maybe that was it. But this is his 4th fight in, so he's not, he's not super experienced, but he's been there before. He's had that experience of fighting in the UFC. Okay. Next up was the main event. Anthony Smith, desperate for a win, ranked number 6 versus Devin Clark, unranked. This didn't go long. Josh, what did you make of this one, mate?
Well, for starters, I didn't know the guy, but when it started, he come at him hard, didn't he? He did catch him in the opening. It was right down maybe, and then he clinched that body knocked down, and then. There's not a lot going on with it, to be honest.
No, it's very unusual to. We talked about this off air, and it's very unusual to see someone ranked so highly, like 6th. Yeah. I wasn't so long. Anthony Smith so long ago was fighting John Jones for the title. To be fighting someone who's unranked, and like to me that says they needed to get Anthony Smith back on the on that winning thread. But it is really unusual because, you know, you'd expect them to maybe give him someone a bit lower down the rankings, maybe, you know, not someone who's not in that top 15.
No, you expect to definitely know his opponent, especially being Anthony Smith, who, like you just said, who's fought all the top guys. To fight an unranked guy then and be main event. Well, obviously he wasn't going to be main event, was he? But he would have been co-main.
No. Yeah.
Still very high up the card, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's a weird one. I felt for him in some ways because I felt like, you know, is it asking a bit too much of him, like to fight Anthony Smith? At this, you know, he's an unranked fighter.
That's why I think he came so hard, really.
Yeah, just to try and catch him early.
Yeah, because he knew he was going to go one way. I should imagine it would have went one way on the feet as well. I should imagine.
Yeah, and the thing is, as well, is, you know, you never know. And plus, if he does catch Anthony Smith early, Anthony Smith's not in the greatest of runs at the moment before this fight.
No, definitely.
So I can understand the logic with going after him a bit and trying to get that early shot and, you know, maybe put Anthony Smith under a bit of pressure, get inside his own, so he's inside his own head. Like, but Dan, what did you make of this one, mate? It looked like it was only going to go one way after that initial sort of minute or so.
Yeah, again, we're in the weight division where, you know, anything can happen. You know, and it nearly did. You know, the guy come out really explosively and kind of did what he should do, really, and that's, you know, to take it to Smith and try and make an impression, win or lose. And but he got clinched up, and I mean, he's down as being a boxer and a wrestler, but he allowed the double underhooks really so easily. And I think we saw 3 times, or 3 different guys use the same type of takedown. Now everyone seems to be going for double unders. Sorry?
I heard down the commentary saying he was a wrestler, and I just thought,
yeah, he didn't behave as such.
His body lock.
Yeah. That's right, yeah, and that kind of really surprised me. But from 3 different people, we saw the double underhooks where you move them around an angle, step behind one side of the leg for a nice, efficient takedown. That was always, and, you know, not overly energetic to do so. He got him down, but nevertheless, Smith then ended up underneath, but which went in his favour. But I was thinking, oh no, he's gonna end up fluffing this up as well. And but no, you could tell that his opponent didn't have much knowledge on the ground. Compared to Smith, with the way that when he did get taken down, he held onto his head, which wasn't giving him anything. He was just carried on holding onto that head. Now, I know he was caught, Smith had caught his forearm underneath him, which is a real typical MMA move. You know, maybe that made him feel the incline to just try and hold on and see where it goes from there. But really, he should have been letting go of that head and trying to scramble up. But yeah, Smith did what we expected him to do, maybe not in the way we didn't expect it to be won by a triangle. You don't see them very often in MMA anymore, or we don't see someone winning off the back other than a guillotine maybe. But yeah, it was good. I'm glad. I like Smith. I like his style. I think he's a better fighter than his recent results have shown. And we were discussing off air, I believe it was off air, about him possibly fighting, you know, a good matchup with Walker. Walker's obviously just got back to winner ways. I think that'd be great. I think that'd be really, really good. Similar body compositions.
That will probably happen, I should imagine.
Yeah. I think it'd be a good call to happen. Yeah, that one would be quite an interesting match.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting. He's a good all-round fighter, and he's entertaining to watch, and he can do a bit of everything. Just been on a bad run, but you know, when you look at some of the fighters he lost to, maybe, you know, anyone could lose to people like John Jones on their day, you know, and many have. So I don't know. I wonder who I hope they don't pit him against another kind of really one-sided fight. I would like to see him put him against someone who's going to test him a bit more. If they're not going to give him, you know, like a Johnny Walker, I wouldn't mind seeing him up against Jimmy Crute, Dan. You know, obviously Modestas fought him recently.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that'd be good.
Do you think that'd be dangerous for him?
Crute is very, very good. I've watched him, you know, a good while back, and thought to myself, damn, this kid's good. This guy's top 10. He's top 10 material. I just don't think that would be a good idea. It'd be a good idea for Crute, because this is a guy that's obviously been in there fighting with the likes of Jones. But no, that would not be a good call for him.
Yeah, it's going to be certainly going to be an interesting one. Who they do with him? I think Johnny Walker, but then I look at the likes of Nikita Krylov and Misa Serkinov, Jimmy Kruger. I think they're all really dangerous for Anthony Smith.
Yeah.
Maybe someone like Paul Craig or Ovin St. Preux.
Paul Craig. That's another one.
Another
he's on a
option.
team now, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's on a 3-fight win streak, isn't he?
Yeah. 3 or 4 now.
He just seems to grind out the wins, doesn't he? At the moment, we said last week, we didn't think he was unbelievable in his performance, but he just grind.
You can't knock it.
That's what it's about. You've got to just win. So to finish us off tonight, Josh is gonna give us some predictions for the Cage Warriors Trilogy. But before we do that, Josh, are you all set for your fight on the Cage Warriors Trilogy on the Friday?
Yeah, everything's gone perfect. My weight's where it should be for 2 weeks out. Everything's spot on.
Is there, without giving your game plan away, how do you see the fight? How do you see the fight playing out?
I can see him. He wanna stand. I've watched a few of his fights. I do want to get announced. I have a quick little scan, and then my coaches do the work. But he's up for a bang. He's doable. He's hard to throw away. He's had a lot of amateurs. I'm more experienced in the pro ranks. I think I'll play my part because being a pro for longer is definitely different. It's totally different to amateur. I see me coming out on top, and I just think
And Josh, do you when you get your wins, whether it's by decision or you've had TKOs on your record and you're clearly well up on your submission game, how is it you like to win fights? What feels good for you? Is it getting them in the checkmate of a submission, or is it the enjoyment of getting that TKO and KO, or are you happy to grind it out for a decision and feel like you've been to work that night? What makes you feel good inside when you get that win?
Probably it's not submission really. Get a good submission, but I've worked hard for it. Grind them down. I've got a submission. That always feels good. Obviously, fans and things like that, they want to see knockouts, but everyone can win it. But it's Saturday and you grind it out to get a submission. I work for that.
Yeah, I know. I've never had a KO on. I've had TKOs through kicking people to the legs where they couldn't carry on, but I never had the satisfaction of a knockout, unfortunately. But, and I've had my fair few run submissions, I guess. But I just wondered how you young fighters of today, whether you have a preference, it makes you feel good to win by that sub or KO. I can't comment on the KO, can I? But I'd imagine it would feel good.
To be honest, just win, sweetie. Just win. I think only win, but obviously, got to work for anything.
Right.
So Josh, what I'm going to quickly do is I'm going to name a couple of the fights from the Cage Warriors card. You could just tell me who you think is going to win. It's generally it's not going to be every fight. Just going to be friends of the show, really, people who've been on or people who we've kind of followed. So let's start on the 10th. So we've got. Let's have a look. So the main event of that is Luke Shanks and Jake Hadley. I know me and you talked about it when we were waiting for Dan earlier, but how do you see that one going?
I think Jake in the first 2 rounds, I think on the feet, he will put him away. And I think if Luke can take him into the later rounds and obviously grind him out, which he is good at, that's how I think it's going to work. Because then Jake early stoppage, Luke will win in the later rounds or on points.
That's a good shout. The other one on that day is which I'm interested in, Sam Creasy versus Adam Armasinger. That's going to be a real interesting fight because Armasinger's been on a bit of a tear recently.
I think Sam Christie. I do.
Good shout. And then on the 11th of
That's the day I fight.
December.
Who's main event then?
Say again, sorry.
Who's main event on 11th? That's the day I fight then.
The 11th main event is Matthias Frederick versus Jamie Richardson for the middleweight title. So, yeah,
I
who
like
do you see
watching
that?
Richardson fight though. He's game.
Yeah, he's a good fighter. I enjoy him as well. So we got a couple of familiar faces on that one. We got Ben Ellis versus Kingsley Crawford at featherweight. We'll see
I
that
know
one
Ben
go.
Ellis because he's Welsh.
Top man, yeah. And then we got Tom Mearns versus Steve Amiable at a catchweight, £150.
Steve, I gotta go for that one.
Oh, Danny's going to be raging. Why is that a catchweight, Dan?
Well, Tom really should be fighting at featherweight, but we discussed before how his life has been, really up and down. Without getting into his personal life. Sorry.
What's the catch weight? What weight
And
is it?
50.
68 kilos is that? I think it is. So he really should be fighting at featherweight, and I keep pushing him to, but with the way that his work's been, it's just not enabling him to have a set diet, and you can get fit, but trying to he's quite a big weight cut, he's quite thick. He's been fighting up at lightweight, which I'm not comfortable with him doing. He's a real strong featherweight, we've managed to get him to do a catchweight one, and hopefully if he can sort out his work going into next year, because of all this COVID and everything, he's been in work, out of work, doing agency work because of losing his job. Really not been an easy situation for him. But one thing, he don't shy away from hard work. He's always in the gym. He always gets fit and strong for the fights. But yeah, it's just doing it in the wrong weight division.
That is a good fight, mate. That is a good fight.
Yeah, it's going to be a good terror. They actually fought many years ago when Tom was 19. Yeah, he was just a kid. He'd only been training less than a year, and they had a hell of a banging match, just boxing it up. Yeah, both boxing it up. But like I say, he was just a young boy, and Steve was much more mature and developed in his martial arts. But yeah, Tom gave good account of himself, and this is actually a really good matchup for the pair of them to display where they're strong. It's going to look good, this fight. For both of them, win, lose or draw, it's going to be a great one.
Well, Tom's fight on the trilogy just gone was absolute brutal. It was such an enjoyable fight, and he loved it. You could see, couldn't you?
He loves to scrap. Tom loves to scrap. He really, really does. And sometimes I have to try and snap him out of just enjoying the fight and remind him it's a martial art event that you've got to show skill to win. He's as tough as they come. You can punch him hard as you like, kick him hard as you like. It ain't going to bother him. Just not going to bother the lad. But by the same token, that don't get you wins. Being tough is great. It keeps you in there with the chance to win. But I want you to pursue the win. And so sometimes I have to remind him of that. And this training camp, and even the previous training camp, we've really been seeing the old Tom, and he's been on absolute fire. And he's training with people like Jordan, and watching them two spar is like watching a professional match for a world title every time they get in there together. Incredible to watch, a pair of them.
But you make a good point, Dan, and I think it's perhaps lost on people sometimes who are not kind of familiar with it. It's like outside of the UFC, a lot of the fighters are still working full time whilst being professional fighters, and that can make things like weight cutting and diet. It can make it difficult, can't it? If you're working like all day and then you've got to go and train, or you train and then you've got to go to work, it can be very difficult to fit in, eating right and weight cutting and things like that. And obviously Dan as a coach and Josh as a fighter yourself, like that how much of a struggle that can be, and it shows the dedication you've got to have to be, to reach the tip top.
Yeah, it's not easy. You've really at the level like Josh is fighting at and Tom are fighting at. You've got to have everything running in unison quite smoothly. I mean, we all go in there with niggles, and we all go in there maybe having an argument with our missus, or your mum niggling at you that day. We all have our issues and stuff, but some of these fighters, they really do go through things, and don't get mentioned about. They live lives like any of us. They don't just fight. And for Tom, for the last few fights, he's been having to come to the gym at like 8 and 9 o'clock at night when predominantly the classes are done, and try and get a bit of training in when everyone's done their training. It was not idyllic. The weight divisions have not been idyllic, but he actually performed really, really well in his last fights. And maybe I'm being biased, but actually thought he won that last fight.
Yeah, I did as well.
And many do, but I'm. What's the name of the guy? The Bellator guy. He fought in Bellator. He's unbeaten, isn't he? Oh my goodness! You have to bring his name up quick. I'm terrible about bringing up names off the top of my head, but he's a good, really good fighter. Tom gave away a load of natural size to the guy, but ran him back striking for the whole 3 rounds.
Oh yeah, it was a hell of a fight, mate. It was like proper, just from start to finish, just brutal. And they were both like at the end of the fight, you could see they both just enjoyed having this war. It wasn't Adam Proctor, was it? It was.
No.
Oh, it's gonna bug me, that isn't it? I can't find it. Steve Amiable, that's who he's fighting now.
I'm going to see if I can find it quick. I'm so bad at bringing up names off the top of my head. I'm horrendous.
No, you're worse than me, you are, mate.
I'm really bad
with the names. But in the meantime, while we bring up that, Josh.
Lister. Kieran Lister.
Yeah, that's it, yeah. Yeah, it was a good fight, that was, mate. And we got Liam Gittins versus Josh Reed. Who's going to win that, Josh?
Me.
Aaron Khalid versus Justin Burlinson.
Aaron Khalid, Welsh.
Yeah. After he destroyed that guy at the last trilogy, he
ran through that guy.
Next stand-up when I.
Oh yeah, he just smashed through him, didn't he? And then on the Saturday, we have what was the fight I was going to ask you about? Jordan Vucinic versus Paul Hughes. It's going to be a banger.
Yeah, it's going to be a great fight. A bit on the fence with that one, really.
Oof.
I don't know. I do like Paul Hughes, mine. I do like his style as well. I do like. Yeah, that'll be fight night. Oh, definitely.
Yeah, 100%. I could say there's going to be fighting. And I see Danny's gone against both your fighters, mate. That's going to be it's got to be very difficult to take.
Oh, they've been good fights today. They've been good fights.
Yeah, they are. There's I think that's a massive fight for Jordan.
Yeah.
But he's so talented, and he is in everything.
In his last one, did he?
Sorry.
He beat Steve in his last one. Was that the last fight?
He beat Steve. Yeah.
I thought it was, yeah.
But yeah, he's he's so young, and Jordan is so young, so talented, world at his feet, as it were. But there's a few other, there's lots.
They put him on the pads today, didn't they? And on Cage Warriors, he's looking sharp. They put a video clip.
Yeah, he's if everything goes his way, and he keeps making the right decisions. Do you think he's one of them who's got the ability to go all the way? Okay, so to finish us off, we'll talk or give us some predictions for next week's UFC. So we got the main event, Danny, is Jack Hermansson versus Marvin Vettori at middleweight. It's ranked 4th versus 13th.
Yeah.
That's a tough one to call, I think.
I'm going to go Hermansson, but it is real tough. I'm going to go Hermansson.
I think it's closer than the rankings suggest for me, because I quite like Vettori. Even, it's according to the rankings, they're 10 places apart. But I'm going to go with Vettori, I think, just for the upset. Josh, who you got there, mate?
I'd go with Jack on that one as well.
Shout. And then the co-main event is Ovin St. Prue, ranked 15th versus Jamahal Hill. I'm not familiar with Jamahal Hill, I've got to be honest. Are you going with OSP, Dan, or are you going with the
I'm going to go with
youngster?
Hill. He's an unbeaten up-and-comer. and Prue's been around for a long time. He's had a lot of fights, but I'm going to go heel. I'm going to go with the young blood.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the young blood as well, mate. I've got to be honest. He's unbeaten. I just pulled up a clip on YouTube of him, and he looks sharp. So I'm going to go with him. And then there was one other fight I was going to ask you about, and I can't find it now.
The women's one. There's a good women's.
Yeah,
one.
the women's fight. Was it? Montana De La Rosa versus Talia Santos. Who you got in there?
That's actually tricky. Even though Talia Santos has only lost once, De La Rosa's she's good.
She's bad.
Yeah, she is bad. Okay, I'm going to go with Santos and play safe. Just going to play safe on that one. But I would not be surprised if that goes the other way.
Boring.
I know.
I'm going to go with De La Rosa because she's a bad woman.
Yeah.
She scares me. She's bad. I like her. Who you got there, Josh?
I'm a bit on the fence as well, really, to be honest.
Difficult one.
It's a tough one to call.
Yeah. Just have to watch out.
Yeah. And I'm just going to double check some in prelims. Was there anyone on the prelims of interest at the moment? I think they're going to add another fight. Luis Smolka versus Jose Quinones. I can't even pronounce his name. On the prelims, that is. We talked about Luis Smolka a couple of episodes ago, Dan. I think his fight was off, but he looked really good the last time we watched him. So be an interesting one.
Yeah, we'll have to have a little watch of that one. But you got that Mozvar Evolov. He's 13-0. He's fighting, isn't he? Isn't he fighting on that event?
Oh yeah, he is. Yeah, sorry, I missed him. He's Nate Landwehr versus.
That's going to be a good fight right there.
Evolov.
Yeah,
that is going to be a good fight. I'd be very surprised if that's not a banger. So obviously Evolov is 13-0, the Russian, and Landwehr is 14-3.
Yeah,
good fight.
It is a good fight. They're really closely matched in everything as well.
Yeah, they are.
So I'm going to go with Evolov because I think he's got really good takedown defense as well as his other skills. So I'm going to go with Evolov there.
Yeah, I would as well.
Okay, and that's us for this week. This week's episodes. Josh, appreciate you joining us, mate. And
No problem at all.
hopefully we can catch up for a little 10-minute chat at some point before your fight.
Yeah.
Promote the show, as it were. But if we don't for any reason, all the best for your fight, mate. We'll be watching and we'll be talking about it. And you're welcome back to join us anytime, mate. Of course, every Sunday we record. Have a different fighter on each week. Get some insights, so I haven't got to just speak to Danny on his own. He's very boring.
Wow. Oh dear. No, good luck, Josh, and go for the bulldog choke. Bulldog choke.
Yeah, it's going to say you'll see him up there, Dan.
Yeah. No, I will. Yeah, absolutely.
Indeed. Yeah, you'll be there getting interviews for us, Dan. Come on, you're going to be walking around getting interviews with all the fighters with your mask on.
No one recognises me with a mask on.
Yeah, excuse, isn't it? Right, appreciate it as ever. Thanks to everyone who's watched, downloaded. We'll be back next Wednesday for another episode. And in the meantime, be good, and we'll see you next week.
Defending champion, welcome